Welcome in Thursday edition Oxford Exxon Podcast here with you, Chase Parham, Neal, McCready. We're going to go talk to Jeffrey Wright here in just a second. Jeffrey, 92.9 there in Memphis, joining us every single Thursday to talk Neal's picks, talk college football for the weekend. Neal's picks are up on the site at rebelgrove.com, our online home by now. So head on over there, see the funny captions, the great picks. I mean, we had an awesome week last week, so you really should just lock in, get behind us, and ride that to victory this weekend.
You can fade us to victory.
That definitely could have faded Brian, and maybe
you made some coin.
Yeah. Had a week there had you done that. So we'll get to Jeffrey in a second.
Brian's already in crisis mode in week 2. He
was kind of like chasing games a little in week 2. That's not a good sign as we start this thing off. So we'll get into games here in a minute. First, talk about the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Today's Meatloaf Thursday. That's your lunch special. Any bread, any size fountain drink there at the Oxford Exxon. So take advantage of that. If you have the opportunity to be coming into town this weekend, they can still help you out for your tailgate, ribs, call ahead. They'll have them wrapped up. They'll have them ready to go for you there with this Blue Sky location. And I guess other ones too if you wanted to come by and take advantage of those up and down I-55 and throughout South Mississippi as well. We're coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes and business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest completely up to you. You can shop it around. You can do what I've done. What I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today, 662-257-1900. Jeffrey Wright about to join on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Ben Mintz will join on said hotline this evening, and callers will call in on said hotline this evening. The Rafters Music and Food Hotline, Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford, coming up this weekend for the game. A lot of people will be in the Grove. There is some talk about rain, that kind of thing. So if you need to get out of the rain, go grab a burger, a beer, whatever. Go to Rafters, check out some of the games, and enjoy yourself. I know it turns into kind of the college scene later in the evening, but before that, it's a great place to stop and have a cocktail, appetizer, or whatnot at Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford, and also Rafters in New Albany. So go ahead.
Real quick. We'll go to Jeffrey in a second. Before I do that, I wanted to mention that if you stop by Blue Sky, you can also go in and with any purchase at all, you can register to win a 2022 Ole Miss game football jersey. 7 games, 7 jerseys available there at Blue Sky here in Oxford. So all you got to do, go in, buy anything, any purchase, sign up, and you might be one of the 7 people to win an Ole Miss official game jersey this season. So again, that's the Blue Sky here on Highway 6 West in Oxford. Now we'll go to Jeffrey Wright waiting on us on the horn. I feel like we're doing a countdown, taking off.
Well, and I'm waiting. I don't know which number he's.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you?
I've been better.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright, 92.9, ESPN in Memphis, the host of the Giannato and Jeffrey show at, was it 2 o'clock each afternoon there in Memphis? I know you're the producer of the Jeff Calkins show.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 Central. Streaming live on the Odyssey app. You can sign up for the Odyssey app for free, and we'll mine your data. And you can always check out our podcast, the Giannato and Jeffrey Show podcast.
I called you last night because I was checking on you. I was concerned. There was a shooting rampage in Memphis. We're going to get to football in a minute. I'm a full disclosure here. I cannot continue to just never acknowledge what's going on in the world around me and just do nothing but hardcore sports. I just can't do it. Chase is better at that than I am, and I mean that as a compliment to Chase, not as an insult. First, I know that you are kind of doing shows this week with a pretty heavy heart. You knew Liza Fletcher, the school teacher that was murdered last week, I guess about this time last week in Memphis. What can you tell us about her?
I think the first place I would like to start is she was just sweet, just like the sweetest person. And, she had kind of like a quirky personality, yet despite that, she might have been like one of the most popular girls and well-liked girls that I knew. And, what's been really heavy for me is, she was the cousin of, one of my groomsmen, one of my best friends in the world. She was the cousin of his wife. And, just watching what they've gone through and then watching kind of the coverage of the story. And I don't even necessarily mean really, honestly, the local coverage, but when I would read stories about billionaire heiress, like trying to make her into like Anna Delvey, man, it just really, really pissed me off because anyone that knew her knew she was far from that. She was a school teacher. Her husband worked retail. Like, if that's the heiress lifestyle, that's not the heiress lifestyle that I would like to sign up for. And so it was just horrific. And, the other thing about it that made it so difficult is, the conversation around everything around it was just so maddening. And, it quickly devolved into, what it always does. It's the right making its pleas for, the right making its pleas, and then the left, immediately arguing, well, it's racist that that this story gets this coverage. It's like, shut up. Just shut up. Like,
I first heard about her a little bit. Obviously, the story broke, and you don't know who the people are. And it's our job in journalism, I think, to do two things. It's our job to tell a story about who the people were, and it's also our job to talk about why something happened. And so anyway, I started hearing about who she was. As you know, my daughter Caroline's a sophomore at Arkansas, and a lot of her sorority sisters are from Memphis. There's a lot of Memphis kids that go to Arkansas, and a lot of them had either gone to that school or knew little people who went to that school. And what I kept hearing over and over was that she may have been the most popular teacher at that school, that little kids just loved her, and that during the pandemic, and we've seen some of these videos now, but that during the pandemic, she would get on Zoom calls or whatever with her little students and
sing with them.
And just talk and check in with them. And, she had two boys, and so I'm sure that it was her outlet to, reach out to little girls, but she would talk to them and she would show them their dog. And she was just this very human person, obviously. And Caroline's friends just were devastated last weekend, about what had happened, and obviously hoping for some miracle outcome. And like you said, as everyone kept wanting to make this, some fantastical, Dateline NBC story down the road, it was like, no, wait a minute, this is a woman who two little boys lost their mom, and this school lost a beloved teacher. I mean, I'm not criticizing teachers who aren't beloved, but we all know there's a difference between the teacher that you never forget and the teacher that you can't remember. And she was the teacher that those little girls never forgot. She was
to your point, she was, so Aaliyah's boss, her daughter was one of Liza's students. And I mean, her little daughter, I believe, has a stuffed animal named after Liza.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that, that's kind of like the other thing about it. It's so, I am not someone that is, for lack of a better term, dick riding the city of Memphis. With that being said, I'm 34. I live here. And so, like, there's a reason for that. Like, I went to college in California. I found my way back here. My mom and dad still live here. Both my brothers live here. My youngest brother found his way back here. So, this isn't something of, hey, we have to be here. We chose to be here. All of us did. And I don't know, it's just been so disheartening because I really felt like heading into the pandemic, it's, at least in my lifetime, I'm not saying I'm not enough of a historian of the city to know, where it would stack up, but we had some real momentum. And I'm not even saying like, oh, well, I was ignoring the bad. It really was true. We had real momentum as a city, and people that I had known that had been pretty realistic about the future of the city, it was the most optimistic that I had seen them be. And then the pandemic hit, and it's just like, if we took a step forward, it was just like, since the pandemic, it's just been backpedaling, and we're like backpedaling in man coverage.
So you're about to go on the air in a little bit, 45 minutes or so, on some less than 12 hours after a 19-year-old was apprehended and charged with, I don't know what he's been charged with, multiple murders at this point, I'm guessing, in a shooting spree last night in Memphis that had people shook up. I was calling everyone I knew, like, hey, is everybody okay? And, that's terrifying, a shooter on the loose. I was taping with Pete DeWeese. I didn't know that was going on, and you and I were kind of exchanging emails, and you're like, hey, turn on Fox 13, and I did, and you see that. And how do you go about today on a day where you work at a sports station where people want you to talk about sports, and yet the topic in your city is not sports today?
I don't know. So one of my buddies is Ryan Glasspiegel of the New York Post, and Ryan texted me, and he's like, so how do you talk about sports tomorrow? And it's this weird reality of, on the one hand, Mark and I have built our show around trying to be a sports show. Like, he and I believe that in the end, we're not informed enough. We don't have enough information, and we're not sophisticated enough to do the social commentary show. Like, he and I have to do a sports show. Like, that's if we're going to do a good show, that's what we have to do. But don't you kind of feel soulless today if you just try to go and sit there and go, all right, Bills by 2.5. What do you think on the road? Like,
yeah, I think it's difficult.
I don't know.
I think it's difficult.
I've really struggled.
It's almost too like people just need somebody to talk to. They just need humans more than even commentary. You know what I mean? I mean,
don't you think that's kind of societal right now?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, to me, like, that's.
I mean, the hell with an answer. Just be with somebody right now. I mean, we don't have all the answers. You and I aren't changing anything necessarily, but
no, I don't know if we're changing hearts and minds.
Yeah.
I was talking to my mom this morning, actually, and we were talking about one of the things that bothered me as a journalist. Okay, this is journalism. And Chase knows me really well. You do too, Jeffrey. Probably better than you two. Probably know me better than, I don't know. There might be 5 people on earth that know me better than you guys.
There aren't many that don't have the last name McCready that know us better.
That's quite true. We were talking about how one of the things that really bothered me, let me get through this. And we're going to get to football in a second, I promise. One of the things that really bothered me was people said, man, she was crazy to go out and run at 4:30 in the morning. And I said, okay, I get it, but why? And they're like, well, it's dangerous. Okay, now we're going somewhere. Why? Well, because it's just not safe. Okay, but why? That's the story that's not getting, because it's hard to dig into that story. It is difficult to peel that onion, to get into because the only way that you can ever make a place like that area where she got up and ran, and look, as a former distance runner, I know that when you are training to run, or when you just like to run 10, 12 miles, and I know people go, that's insane, but there are people out there that 10 to 12 mile run is a drug. Okay, it just makes you feel good, and she very clearly was an avid runner who loved to run.
She was a state champion in the 300 hurdles. Like,
yeah.
She was a phenomenal athlete.
She loved to run. So if you're going to get a 2-mile, a 10-mile, 12-mile run in, you got to plan for a couple of hours. And she had kids at home. She had a job. That was her window of time to go run. The field, we refused to dig into this. The danger should be, in an ideal world, well, you might step in a hole and break your ankle.
Yeah, this is exactly what I said on Monday. I called my youth group pastor. I called my buddies, and we were kind of dealing with I was asking for wisdom. I was like, I've got to talk about this. I don't have a lot of good to say right now. And where I netted out was, if you want to nitpick the coverage, okay, go for it. I'm not here to have that conversation. Like, that's all that you guys can argue amongst yourselves. But if we can't agree that it's a bad situation, that someone can't go for a run at 4:30 without fear of being abducted and murdered.
Yeah, abducted.
Then what are we doing here?
Exactly. That
was what just drove me insane.
That is precisely it, and that is, as a society, you have to look at that as a journalist. You have to. The story that must be told is, okay, it was dangerous for her to go run at 4:30 in the morning, but it damn shouldn't be. She should be able to get up in the morning.
Neal, not to cut you off, but this is a detail that. So, Julia Baker, who wrote the first story, included in her story was the detail, because she was basically running, half a mile from the University of Memphis campus.
Yeah.
Well, in her story, she included that if you are a student at the U of M and you don't feel safe, you can request an escort to walk you, to your classes. And I was sitting there going, holy hell, that is depressing.
It is.
And that's the reality. Like, what was so sad about that story is Liza was probably wrong place, wrong time. Like, in the end, I think that guy was probably camped out by the U of M to go and try and abduct a student. Well, Liza happened to be running, but it's just the fact that you can't just go to class without the fear of something horrific happening. Like,
yeah,
that's a problem.
It is.
And we can argue about all the societal, but can we just shut up and sit there and go, let's fix this problem first?
Yeah, that's my point. That's exactly, you put it better than I could have put it. That's exactly right. You have to acknowledge that. Like, I have a friend whose daughter is a freshman at the University of Memphis, and she spent the night at home last night, and they're thinking about moving her home.
Well, I guess the other thing was super depressing. So Aaliyah, I don't know how much you've been keeping up, but carjackings are just at an all-time high. And a lot of them are happening at gas stations. And in
broad daylight.
Oh, my brother is 6'1", 220 pounds. His car got carjacked at the corner of Poplar and Ridgeway at 4:30 in the afternoon, broad daylight. And, one of my lifelong friends has a rule that his wife can only get gas on Poplar, basically within 2 miles of their house during daylight hours. And the thing that kind of struck me when he was telling me this is, first, my reaction is, that's smart. And then second was, the fact that I'm going that smart, that's just so depressing. And when my brother's car got carjacked, he calls the cops, and their first reaction was, yeah, we average about 13 to 14 of those in this intersection basically a week. And furthermore, they knew that the guys that had stolen the car were driving down Poplar. The car had been spotted, yet the cops go, "Yeah, we can't follow them until the perpetrators do something else. Like we can't do anything." And so now we've created this society where police cannot police. And like in the end, no one likes law enforcement in the theoretical sense. We can all agree, like it's just another extension of the man. But when you legitimately prevent law enforcement from enforcing the law, you have a societal problem. And it'd be wonderful to live in a society where you don't need law enforcement. I just don't see that society. And I'm willing to hear examples.
No, you're exactly right. It's the reality versus utopia thing that is always at the core of some of these arguments. In a utopia world, a lot of things are the way that we wish they would be, but that's not how things really are. And so I was talking to someone in Memphis yesterday, someone I called to check on, who was talking about just how short, you might know the number better than me, just how short the Memphis Police Department is right now on. They've lost a lot of people, just a lot of officers just quit. I mean, they moved on to do other things, or they retired early or whatnot, and they can't replace them. And when you don't have law enforcement and you trust people to just obey the laws, most of us do, but those that don't, if they can't be arrested and prosecuted, kind of sends a message.
Well, I mean, I don't even know. I know they were trying, they're recruiting very, very hard. And of course, then we had a wonderful public debate of whether or not, if you could bring in law enforcement from other counties to work here. And then of course that becomes a debate. And it's just like the perfect microcosm of where we were. We hired a new chief of police. I can't remember if it was last summer. It's been in the last year or so. Her first week in Memphis, she was robbed twice.
The chief of police?
Yes. And then the best part is people then trying to blame her because, she had her guns in the car. And that was kind of the first, because I believe that occurred before my brother's incident. That was kind of the first, we got a real problem here. When the conversation about someone getting their car broken into and burglarized is, what was she doing with her guns in the car? That I feel like we've lost the plot at that point.
No doubt. There is no segue here, so we'll try to have a little fun here. I will be thinking of you all day today. I know this is a heavy day to try to do 4 hours of radio in Memphis with two completely different shows. And so,
well, I know what the answer is. Let's talk some Iowa.
We're going to get to the Hawkeyes because everybody's taking shots at my boys.
By the way, week 2 of you digging into non-SEC football games.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Hey, listen. I don't want to.
Should you at least put a horse race that's already happened in, and that way Chase.
Let me say this. Unlike a lot of things, this is not a lawless society. This is a
dictatorship.
This is a dictatorship.
We acknowledge that you are the czar. I don't know what title you would like, Lord Commander.
I like czar. I like czar's good. I tell you what games you pick, and you pick those games, and that's the way it works. I don't want to hear a bunch of pushback. I told you to pick the Iowa State game, and you all did it. You might not have liked it, but you did it.
You want to talk about criminal punishment?
You're loyal serfs, is what you are.
Yes.
All right, let's get to a few of these SEC.
Brainwashed is what we are. And I commend you. In fact, you should be studied.
I really should. I don't know. There's 4 11 a.m. games. We're not going to get to all of them. Is there one that sticks out to you as the most interesting?
Is it weird if I say Missouri, Kansas State?
No, because that's the one that's most interesting to me too.
I mean, first and foremost, I picked Alabama to cover, so be it.
Yeah.
I just want y'all to
whatever.
know those young men from Tuscaloosa, ladies and gentlemen, first half Alabama is back and back with a vengeance. So just first half, lay it. I don't even care what the number is. Just lay it and move on. But there's something weird about that Kansas State-Missouri game because I may have sprung the trap. I may have gone full like SpongeBob SquarePants. But I'm not sure Kansas State should be favored by 8 at home.
It's a big number.
Yeah, I wanted Missouri to suck. I watched the whole thing almost cheering for them to suck, and they didn't suck.
No, they
were
even
very
tried
okay.
to suck. They tried to suck, and like in spite of themselves, they were able to like just kind of blow out La Tech.
But it's possible that Louisiana Tech really sucks.
Sure.
Again, we talked about this last week. You know, what do you do with that game? Because the points seemed like that was way too many. And in fact, Missouri had even kind of turned it over a couple of times to let La Tech back in the game. And then Missouri just kind of pounced and you know, put them away. But this is my working theory, and I'm curious to know how y'all feel about this. So I looked at the numbers yesterday. In week 1, and I understand Kansas State is a Power 5 program, but Power 5 programs against G5 programs went 27-1 in week 1. And furthermore, they went 25-1. They also went 19-6 against the spread. And if you look at the previous 5 years, as far back as I could go, you know, it was essentially either 500 or, you know, a little above, little below 500 against the spread. I think we're finally seeing what's happened with when everyone kept saying the gap is widening, the gap is widening. I think we're now seeing it on the field. And we can make all our jokes we want about Missouri, but they've been able to buy some players. And I find it hard to believe that Kansas State's that much. I find it hard to believe that a Big 12 program has that much more talent than an SEC program.
Yeah, I suspect that I screwed up here. I'm the only one that laid the points with.
No, you can tell me like Chase and I are going to be idiots, being like, oh, well, they were daring us to take Missouri, and we fell for the trap.
Martinez is not a good quarterback. Vaughn's a really
Can confirm.
Yeah, Vaughn's a really good running back. I mean, he's a legitimate weapon.
He's like the most fun player to watch at 11 a.m. on FS1.
Yeah, I think he's going to play in the NFL. I think he's going to find a role.
Great.
I mean, he's just explosive as hell, and he might give them fits. And I do think K-State's pretty good on defense. I don't know.
Why do I feel like Saban wants to run this up this week?
Because he does.
Oh, he's on the kill everyone tour.
Yeah.
He's angry. And here, maybe this is me falling for the trap, but did you notice that Sark was doing the thing that you would do after you got killed?
Before he got killed. Yep. Sark saw that Oregon-Georgia game. He knows what's coming.
Well, and then did y'all hear Kirby after that game?
Yeah.
Kirby was like, yeah, you know, we've got better players.
Well, Kirby also did that thing where he said, you know, we talked to the players before the game about, hey, we've had some problems here before with guys get complacent. Good players come in as early and they don't really ever improve. It's because they're not hungry, and you can tell. I read into that the culture's changed at Georgia. And also Georgia's a monster.
The other reason why I like Alabama this week is I think last week was Georgia's opportunity to say we're still here, and holy hell did they say we're still here? Like they got a megaphone and said we're still here. And Alabama against Utah State, like that was name your number. I mean, they could have done the same thing. But the thing that was fascinating to me is Georgia beat Oregon in the same fashion that Alabama beat Utah State. And I expect a similar result in Austin on Saturday.
I do too. I think Saban knows that the eyes of the country were not on the Utah State game.
No.
They will be on the Texas game. And listen, Chase made this point in picks, and he's right. If Texas wasn't prepared emotionally, physically, and otherwise for Arkansas last September, all due respect to the Razorbacks, what the hell's going to happen now?
And I think it's a fair point. I guess the one thing you could say is we've seen a lot of dreams go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and die. at least this one's at home. But
maybe.
You know what I mean? Would you rather? I don't know.
That game. Would you
rather be beheaded? Would you rather be beheaded in a foreign country or in front of your friends and family?
Yeah. I just think what happened at the line of scrimmage in Fayetteville, if that gets replicated by a team that has the skill players to oh God.
I just think Quinn Ewers is going to wish that he'd be in his car that's getting towed.
Yeah, I think so too. Speaking of Arkansas, we all took the Hogs and laid the 8.5.
It's kind of like the opposite of what we're talking about. Like, at least none of us were consistent in our thought process. I guess Chase and I, no, we weren't. No, at least you were consistent. You were like, okay, well, these two numbers don't make sense, so let's try it. Let's go with that. I just look at South Carolina last year when they played Tennessee, and Heupel runs the same offense. They just ran up and down on South Carolina, and I don't know. I guess like this is me just going like I'm somewhat with Chase when he was, they're getting too much love. But at the same time, like if you tell me this game ends up being a 1-score game, I'm not sitting there going like, oh, you're high.
Yeah, my thing with it is the way to beat Arkansas right now is to have a passing game. And I just am not willing to bet much on Spencer Rattler. I mean, dude is erratic. I mean, maybe he puts it together this week and he becomes the great Heisman contender. I'm just not – there's no sign that that's coming.
So maybe he has the blackout game and plays well. You know what I mean? Like Zach Calzada beat Alabama.
It feels like we're losing perspective, or there is a portion of the media losing perspective on Carolina, that a positive season for Shane Beamer, where we kind of believe in Beamer as a coach, is still 7-5. It's not 10-2. Well, it means they're going to get beat.
And the other thing that we're doing, for whatever reason, is we're refusing. We as a media entity, we're sort of refusing to give Sam Pittman and Arkansas credit for what they've done, which is the teams they've lost to in the last season plus. Georgia, Alabama, an Ole Miss team that went to the Sugar Bowl, and they lost that game by 1 point, and they lost to Auburn. They've beaten everybody else.
Yeah, and further, like, my boy's 16-7-1 against the number.
He covers. He's a consistent spread guy.
He always knows the number.
Hey, Tennessee, -4.5 at Pittsburgh. I think we all went Vols and laid the points.
Yeah, and I hate this, but I was going to be madder at myself the other way, so that was it was mental security here.
No, I had the same. This is LSU 2.0 for me.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. If you wanted Pittsburgh, you should take them to win the game. I have a tougher time envisioning Pittsburgh winning the game than I do Tennessee winning the game, because if you think back even to last week with Pitt, man, there were a lot of receivers that got open. And I actually thought JT Daniels played pretty well.
Yeah.
And I thought some guys could have made plays that could have made that game different. But really what that game boiled down to was a deep curl route went through the hands of a receiver for a pick six. And then they're marching down the field. Like Pitt couldn't stop West Virginia. Would any of us have a problem saying Tennessee's better than West Virginia?
No, not at all. All right, we don't
That's
have your.
That's where I netted out.
You got to roll, but I do want to get your last thoughts on this. Here's a question. Got 2 minutes. If Cam Rising doesn't throw a pick on that last throw and instead throws a touchdown, and Utah beats Florida in what was a classic game, are we viewing this Kentucky-Florida game differently? Are we overreacting badly to what we saw in Week 1?
I most certainly hope so. Because to me, like I'm doing this would make perfect sense for Florida to have that outstanding debut last week and then turn around and lose to Kentucky. The thing that was interesting to me was Billy Napier's, the way he coached the final 3 minutes. I mean, Florida was trying to run out the clock. The running back tried to go down inbounds to run clock because they knew they couldn't get a stop. The way that I kind of look at it is I think Kentucky's going to be better equipped to keep Richardson from just single-handedly beating them. I mean, he's obviously a tremendous and special athlete, so he's going to make his plays. But I don't see Kentucky letting him just get outside on them all night to the extent that Utah did. And so this is just me going, I think there was an overreaction with Florida. There's also this, I feel like Florida this year is going to be the team you want as an underdog. I don't know if you're going to want them as a favorite.
Oh, yeah, could be. Hey, I know you got stuff to do. Best of luck today. We'll be thinking of you, and talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
That was Jeffrey Wright, 92.9 ESPN in Memphis, kind enough to spend every Thursday morning with us here during the football season. So appreciate you guys. I just wanted to talk about the other stuff for a minute. I thought we should.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you and I both communicated with Jeffrey yesterday. That was important to do.
Yeah. All right, some of the games we didn't get to, Chase. We didn't get to a game that I love from a betting standpoint. I absolutely love Auburn -23 against San Jose. And it's not because I think Auburn's going to be awesome. I just think Auburn's going to be pretty good on defense, and I think they're still doing the 2-quarterback thing, and I love them covering this line.
Yeah, quick aside real quick, 2 things. Yes, one, Dawson Knox definitely got paid yesterday, 4 years, $53 for the Bills tight end.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah, he's in Buffalo for at least the next 4 seasons. And then if you're not noticing this somewhere else, we are back on Apple. So just heads up there. If you were using Apple previously, you can use Apple again. We would prefer Spotify because I trust it more, but feel free to go back to your – as I had a buddy call me and go, hey, that Purple podcast app's not working. And I went, the Apple one? He goes, yeah. And I said, okay, well, here, let's do this.
The one thing we have discovered is just how many of our people were on Apple.
A lot. we had the analytics, but I had a very concrete noticing of that yesterday. So
that was quite the exhale yesterday afternoon.
It was.
I was getting frustrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, Auburn. Yeah, look, I took them to cover too. San Jose State, this is not the San Jose State that was a little spunky with Starkle at quarterback there for a little while. Auburn is going to be physical. They're going to play defense. They're going to run the football. I'm a little fascinated by this Robbie Ashford thing. I'm
already looking forward to next week with Auburn.
It's intriguing.
Penn State's going to be an interesting game.
It is. Both teams can get a really big win that will shape at least the early part of their schedule because the loser goes, oh, God, that wasn't good. Because neither team is good enough to be okay with a loss in that game next week. But no, I mean, I can do some math and go, well, okay, I could see 41-24 and Auburn not cover. But this feels like Auburn wins this game by 25 to 30 points and sort of walks away with it late. I mean, I know they weren't great against Mercer, but yeah, I would not be comfortable taking San Jose State and just hoping Auburn doesn't run the ball, run the score up as this game moves on. Because frankly, Harsin needs a little confidence. He needs to go. If he can put them away, he needs to put them away.
Well, and I think he wants to win by as much as he can.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He needs style points.
Yeah, he's trying to prepare for the coup that's coming.
He needs all the ammunition he can get.
You have to understand the dysfunction that is Auburn to understand why people like me who are kind of familiar with it are predicting a bunch of Auburn wins. I mean, they win when their people don't want them to win. When the powers that be are ready to initiate the coup is typically when they go win games that no one thought they'd win. And they could beat Penn State. They could beat LSU. And suddenly they're kind of hot. Now the schedule gets brutal. They got to come here, for example.
Sure.
But there's a lot there. It's SEC. You're going to get goofy stuff because that's just what happens with all of these programs with people that are so emotionally invested. You're going to have drama.
You think multiple coaches are out at the end of the year?
They typically are. Because what makes sense from a common sense.
Because somebody has to suck.
Well, because the losses have to be emotional.
Well, that's what you were talking about.
Take Ole Miss, for example, right?
Yeah, sure.
Let's take Ole Miss, for example. We go, 8-4. But boy, that back half is tough. And when you do that in July as a thought exercise, people are like, yeah, that game at College Station's hard. That's going to be tough. Well, in this scenario where you actually go lose the game at College Station, the actual day that you lose the game is emotional. You're pissed off. You're angry.
No, it's the comment you use all the time is there's a difference in a paper loss.
Yeah.
A paper loss, you go, oh, well, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
That's not the guy that's tailgating with his beer. It goes, God, I spent 4 hours for this
The guy that spent $400 on a plane flight to Houston, rented a car, went to
the
College
AD
Station.
Walking out and having fans yell at him.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. I'm not saying Lane Kiffin gets in trouble because Lane Kiffin's not getting in trouble for anything on the field at all.
No.
I mean, he's basically a deity here. But if you told me that Drinkwitz, Harsin.
I mean, if I had to pick two, it's Drinkwitz and Harsin. But both
Leach.
Oh.
If it went badly, sure. I've covered this league. People make emotional decisions every November.
Because, I mean, you're going to get there in a minute. Saturday's a game State can't lose.
Oh, yeah. No,
they lose that becomes very indicative.
Yeah. No, he's got to win games. And look, that game into November on Thanksgiving night. I know it's so easy in September to go, well, it's on the road. It's Ole Miss. It's going to be an emotional thing for them that night. When you're in the stadium and the fans are yelling at you and Ole Miss puts some smart-ass thing up on the scoreboard.
6-6 State losing to Ole Miss for Lane to get his 9th win, and you've lost that 3 in a row, and suddenly that is anything but a paper loss.
Yeah.
That is a pissed-off bunch going, oh, my God.
And maybe a couple of kids get mad and do something stupid. And like I said, Ole Miss puts some snarky thing on the board, and all of a sudden on Friday morning, people are pissed off, and they go, you know what?
Not working.
Nope. You don't think that could happen?
We've seen that happen.
I mean, hell, it's likely.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, no, I'm going to try to never be the guy, as long as I'm doing this, that at the beginning of the season goes, oh, all these guys are safe. No, most of these guys are not safe. And the ones that are super safe are the ones that are going to win. I mean, the new guys, Brian Kelly's not getting fired after 1 year at LSU. Billy Napier's not going to get fired after 1 year at Florida. But no, I mean, Clark Lee's going to get a long leash. So it's a short list of who could end up kind of biting it, but there's a list.
I don't see any way Clark Lee's fired.
No.
The hell are you firing?
Well, no, they're going to give him a lot of time.
Yeah, come on.
He's actually makes sense.
He can go 2-10 the rest, like 0-10 the rest of the way and be fine.
Yeah, he's making a difference there. They're better. If you talk to football people about Vandy, the one thing that they will tell you is that, hey, they're going to lose a whole bunch of games, but they're better. There's some signs that they're getting better. That's it.
Look, I get it's Wake, and we don't respect Wake. Wake really is some perennial football program, but it's a ranked team.
Probably should.
Yeah, it's a ranked team with their quarterback returning. I mean, if we're even contemplating that Vanderbilt has a chance to stay competitive in that game, it means they are better.
Yeah,
there is a respect in that we're even having the conversation.
Well, his team is playing hard. Look at the team that came to Oxford last November. Ole Miss was tired, flat, hurt.
But it was just get through it.
But Vandy played really hard that night.
They did.
That I think that told you something about their culture. That a little sign of it. Because they sucked. They had every reason in late November to be like, hey, man, this is almost over. Let's just get through this. And that's not what they did. They came and played really, really hard, made Ole Miss play. Walk-On's Sports Bistro puts everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine like po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers, fresh salads, all in front of 70-plus televisions and with more than 40 ice-cold beers on tap. Visit them today in Oxford or Ridgeland. Walk-Ons host the Pete's Pigskin Preview with Pete Deweese. That's going to air this evening, this afternoon, 4 p.m. on the live stream. If you want to watch it in premiere form, you can. If you want to watch it later, and you can do that as well. Got a lot of stuff coming to you on the live stream today. Let's see, we've got McCready and Siskey at 2, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. Then Pete Show, The Butcher versus the Spin Instructor, presented by LB's Meat Market at 6. And that will lead into Chase and I with Hand Raised Guys tonight at 7, presented by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Ben Mintz will join in hour number 1. Really good interview with Ben. It was like the best one I think we've ever done. We talked a lot of NFL. Went through every single NFL game for week 1. So if you're looking for some betting tips, it's the kind of something I think we've always wanted to do, is kind of have a little bit of an NFL thing late in the week. And it's been hard to figure out how to do it. Maybe we've stumbled upon it. So we'll talk NFL. Bills and Rams kick it off tonight. Speaking of Dawson Knox, the Bills are in Los Angeles to play the defending Super Bowl champs, and then we'll take your calls after that. So should be a busy day here on the network.
Glad everything is back running appropriately. It would have been a problem if it was not today. Neal had a deadline on when his blood pressure was going to go up, and it would have passed by now.
I was going to be pissed.
It would have been a problem right now.
I was approaching pissed.
Were you?
Yesterday? Yeah.
You were.
Well, I was irritated.
Yeah.
I'm an action person. Everybody has flaws and strengths, and I actually think this is a strength on my part.
Okay.
I do. Like, I know it's cool to be super laid back. I get it. Like, it's really cool to be, like, laid back. Hey, everything's going to work out. It's going to be fine. Until it's not.
Well, I will. You'll get some insight here. We had an issue yesterday morning with something, and I needed to deal with it. I'm trying to keep specifics out. And Neal's phrase to me was, "Hey, don't do the Southern nice thing," was his response to me. And there are times where he is completely correct, and there's times where honey gets more flies, and we don't go in with a bazooka. And we were getting to bazooka phase yesterday.
The honey wasn't working.
Yes, the honey was not attracting the gnat at that moment.
And so at some point you got to look at it and go, that doesn't work. And people are like, well, I'm going to nudge. Well, you know what? I'm going to push. You nudge, I'll shove, and we'll see which one works. And turns out that shoving worked.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, yeah, it's
a little more complicated than that.
A little more complicated than that. But the step after shoving is threatening.
Yes,
we're approaching the threatening phase.
You mentioned it in passing at the Open, but Iowa State getting 3.5 at Iowa. In all honesty, how do we even sort of handicap this football game for Saturday?
I think you're going to see Iowa make a quarterback change if things don't go.
Oh, really?
If things don't go well out of the gate. Now, here's the part of Iowa's performance last week that nobody talked about.
Because their defense.
Yeah, everybody talked about the punter because, and I used a picture of the punter. Everybody talked about the offense being anemic, and it was. People talked about Brian Ferentz and the nepotism that is involved in his still being the offensive coordinator at Iowa. What nobody really talked about was defensively, they were dominant. They really looked great on defense. And they get Iowa State at home. They've dominated the series. I kind of think this is a Vegas trap game. They set the line kind of low. People are like, oh, that's it? And they're taking Iowa State. A lot of people are taking Iowa State as their money line dog. I just think Iowa's better. Doesn't mean Iowa's great, because they're not, but I do think there are signs that a quarterback change is coming. That's a fun game, by the way. I don't know how often you've watched that game.
I mean,
they don't like each other.
Not where I have any knowledge.
And it's a fun game. I'm going to turn that bad boy on at 3 o'clock. Because I figure Ole Miss kicks off at 6. I need to be in the stadium by about 5:59.
Well, yeah, sure, whatever.
I mean,
6:05 is fine.
I mean, there's just not – I don't anticipate there being –
Cruz apparently hits touchback, so you're good for even a few more minutes.
I just don't think there's a lot to write from –
because college football still loves the commercial kick commercial.
Yeah.
So, I'm shocked you took Florida here.
Yeah, I'm mad at myself.
I woke up going, hold on a minute.
I'm mad at myself. Well, I've heard Kentucky has chaos.
Rodriguez is still out.
Rodriguez is out. It sounds like it's an NCAA thing.
Ooh.
And there are some rumblings that there's more NCAA stuff to come, which would prove you to be prophetic because you've long said
they're the ones.
They're the ones. They're not going to hit the big boys. They're going to hit a middle boy.
Yeah.
And Kentucky is the definition of a middle boy.
It's a scalp. It's an SEC program, whole deal.
Yeah, but it's not one that changes the –
and it's not their basketball team.
Right. So that's that. Now, the other thing, I've talked to some football people who do not like what they saw from Kentucky from an offensive line standpoint from protecting Levis. Now, I will tell you this. Everybody's making fun of Levis.
He turned it on.
The NFL people absolutely loved what they saw from Levis in that Miami game. He made NFL money on Saturday. Levis is the real deal.
If we didn't have SEC interest that were needed in multiple ways, Baylor and BYU would be a top 3 game on Saturday.
It might be anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to learn a lot Because BYU went and looked really good, but it was South Florida. They suck. I mean, they have sucked for a long time.
South Florida was so bad when we wrote the Charlie Weiss Jr. things, we went, hey, but it's South Florida. I'm not holding shit against you.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Literally.
Yeah, like, whatever. All right.
Yeah, it was like, well, they weren't very good. I'm like, yeah, they weren't, but, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But Baylor's good. Baylor's a program that has, Ole Miss knows pretty intimately at this point. Aranda's solid. Like, Baylor's the type of team that can go to BYU and be fine. They're going to be intimidated by Provo, for God's sake.
Oh, no.
And so they're athletic. They're physical. They're good on defense. This is
giving 3.
This is I'm not.
BYU's giving 3. Sorry.
I love Baylor plus the 3.
Yeah, I took BYU just for the fun of it more than anything else. It's week 2.
But listen, like the Ole Miss game's at 6, realistically it's over by 8. If you're getting back to the hotel or back to the bar or whatever, ESPN gives you a gift here at 9:15. That's got a chance to be a really good game. Physical, well coached, and this it's got good game written all over it. And it's interesting. Look, Baylor could win the Big 12.
Oh, 100. Any of those 3 teams can win the Big 12.
And if Baylor wins the Big 12, a win at BYU might end up looking really good on their resume. If you're putting a list together of what team could be the 4th team, Baylor's on that list. Might not be after Saturday, but they're on it today.
Arizona, Mississippi State. It's a 9-point line. I think we all took the Bulldogs, right?
Yeah. It's 2 things. These are the kind of defenses that don't have the athletes that can take away the air raid.
Yeah, because you go up, you tackle, you're fast side to side, and you just make them constantly miss third downs, and you make them punt the ball. That's the way to do that.
I don't know how much of State you watched last week, but Rodgers was really, really accurate.
Yeah, sure.
And so if he's going to play that way, and I think he is, against teams like this.
Arizona's a little better, but State is so competent in that offense at this point with Rodgers that I just think they score points.
I do too. I think they score a bunch of points and cover an 8-point line or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's 9.
That line's actually jumped a bunch this week.
Oh, has it really?
Yeah, it was like 11.
Bill's giving 2.5, by the way, in our NFL game tonight against the Rams.
Yeah, and I don't. I'm always nervous when the whole country is on one side.
And picking against the home team in one of these Thursday kickoff things, even though I get LA has no fan base from a standpoint of like comparatively to teams that really have home field advantages.
There'll be a ton of Bills fans there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, did you see all the...
It's going to be a great uniform game, as long as the Rams don't screw it up. If the Rams wear their home uni...
Don't wear bone.
Yeah, if the Rams wear their home uniform and the Bills wear that white on white with the... Oh, such a good look.
Top story, or the top ticker story on ESPN this morning is that Matthew Stafford had an offseason procedure on his right elbow to deal with the pain he experienced last season and help prepare for this season. According to sources, he feels better today than he did at this time last year, something the quarterback appeared to confirm Sunday when he said there were no limitations on his elbow. The team's plan is to manage Stafford's elbow pain is, quote, no different than what it did for the quarterback last season. So you have no issues with Stafford throwing 50-plus passes during Thursday's season opener against the Bills.
I think it's going to be a great game tonight. Home team, someone just points out, John does in the thread, home team is 16-4 in these kickoffs.
Well, didn't lose one for a long time. You've covered one, Saints-Colts. That was a
mauling.
Yeah, I'm aware. Thanks. I remember that night where I was.
Nobody was beating the Colts that night.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
that place was
it has shifted some since then when it was.
That place was so emotional that night. It was crazy. That city was. I'll never forget it. I mean, I got into Indianapolis early that day, and my hotel was down there near Monument Circle, and the big concert was going on all day, and it was just packed with. Apparently, the rule that day was that you could not be out in the city of Indianapolis without wearing a Peyton Manning jersey. I mean, it didn't matter whether you were 4 years old or 94 years old.
Had a Peyton.
Everybody had on a Peyton Manning jersey. Peyton Manning. You'd see an occasional, what was the running? Edgerrin James.
Yeah. Marvin
Harrison. A couple. But I would guess, no joke, 99.2%
or
Peyton Manning.
Blue and white.
And that place, that was in the old RCA Dome because they were building Lucas Oil at the time. And that place was so loud. Was so you couldn't hear the person right next to you, and that was just during pregame. And when the Colts got rolling, night.
The Saints won their kickoff game, but not play well. They beat the Vikings like 14-9, 14-10, something like that in 2010, and it was kind of sluggish. But
that was against Favre, right?
Was he back again that next year?
Seems like he was.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I could look it up quickly, but I don't remember. Adrian Peterson was on that team is what I do remember. But that's all I got.
Siski and I are talking some NFL today. We got to make 5 NFL picks. See, I put this rule on myself on my show with him on our Make It Rain Thursdays because I'm trying to not to, like you and I talked about, hey, let's make sure the network's not just a bunch of repetitive shows. And so I'm telling myself I can't pick SEC games. And I'm discovering that I don't have the great knowledge outside of the SEC. Not that I have great knowledge inside the SEC, but someone asked me to elaborate on the Kentucky thing. That's all I know. My first clue on it was Mark Stoops in his Monday presser saying that he wanted to answer questions about availability, but that he had been advised not to.
Which you took to mean legal.
I took to mean at minimum compliance and likely legal, advising compliance to advise him not to talk about it.
I mean, dude.
And so that's a problem. And if you're waiting for NCAA stuff to resolve, you know how that goes.
It's not going to be a quick process.
It's not usually. Well, like is it LSU with Joe Fuchsia, the Arkansas transfer? He's not eligible, and suddenly they don't know when he's going to be eligible. Some sort of a transfer paperwork deal not done. He didn't play against Florida State. He's not going to play against Southern. Now there's speculation he's going to miss at least 4 games and maybe more. These things drag, man. Once you get to that place, they drag depending on what your compliance is like.
Emmanuel Sanders retires, 2-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, retiring at 35. A couple of news things are going on out there.
Are there any college games tonight?
I don't know.
Or did the colleges say, "Oh, we know what's happening with the NFL," and we bow to you, Your Highness.
There is a deal where you cut your own nose off at some point where you go, "Hey guys, what about Washington State and Utah tonight?" I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
you go.
Let's see. Oh, we got two games tomorrow night.
They did. They took the night off.
Smart. Bow to the king.
I do love we give them these like personification characteristics. I understand that, but it is really funny when the NFL has something going. Everybody goes, "Nope, not touching that one." But then the NFL says, "We want to play on Christmas," and they just play on Christmas. And
someone tells the NFL the NBA plays on Christmas, and is there more to the story? Well, not really. Well, then we're going to play. Meanwhile, college football looks at it and goes, we played the last 2 Thursdays, and it was great.
We'll play next Thursday.
And then someone goes, hey, the Bills and Rams are going to kick off the NFL season on a Thursday night. You know what? We'll play on Friday. It's good. Nah.
Also, it would be hard to talk schools into doing that. Going, hey, Thursday night, right?
What are you doing?
Yeah, why?
It's
a pain on us logistically.
It's my complaint with the Thanksgiving night game. It's why if I'm Ole Miss and I'm in that room, I'm like, we don't like this. I know State likes it. We don't. If I'm Ole Miss, I want my Egg Bowl game at home on Saturday. Or if you insist on me playing it on a non-Saturday, okay, we'll play it on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to play on Thursday night against the NFL. I don't. I'm a big time.
Now today, don't you run into it on Saturday too, or is it just Thursday? No, not that early. Yeah,
not
you're
that
okay
early.
On Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday's college
because they do that night game now. The NFL does the third game.
The NFL doesn't go to Saturday until the college.
It was Saints Falcons last year.
Yeah,
it was Saints Falcons.
And
during the middle of the Egg Bowl.
And the year before that, it was Saints Bills.
Was it? Okay,
I think so. I just don't want to go up against the NFL. And if I'm the SEC or Ole Miss or whoever it is that gets to argue about it, I'm arguing. I'm already doing the holiday thing, which eats into your crowd, I think. You've already got the potential for weather getting into you. At the end of November, it can get wet and cold here.
The Rams do wear a lot of white at home. Yeah, it could be white.
Yeah,
tonight.
and the Bills blue is beautiful.
Fine.
It's great. So it's going to be a good uniform game. Most NFL games are great.
Again, as long as the Rams don't wear bone, it is fine. When they wear that dingy dishwater thing, that's their only issue.
I hate that.
Thankfully, I think they lost in it. So
I'm not in the minority on the Thanksgiving thing, am I? In disliking playing that game on that day?
I don't know that most people have it for that reason. I agree with you. I don't know that is the reason. There are people like it or don't like it, depending on how badly they want to get in or out of a Thanksgiving situation on Thursday, if we're just being completely honest.
Get that.
That is the family situation, and whether they need an excuse or they don't want to miss something. There's nothing like an Egg Bowl to determine what you truly feel about your family situation at Thanksgiving. Because when you see that Thursday game, you either go, damn it, I got a problem, or thank God.
It's going to get me out of the house.
Yeah, game.
Got to leave by 5.
Oh, whoa, hey, tailgate, bring the turkey. Yeah, no, it's some of that stuff.
But most people would prefer it be played on Saturday, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is a part that goes, no, I want to be the only college football game going. But you're not the only game going.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to find it. Because I'm curious. We got a minute, right?
I mean, sure, whatever. We started early. We're good.
I'm looking for the...
Do you want a college football schedule?
No, I'm looking for the NFL schedule for... I've got it right here. So NFL Week 12. Okay, I think you're going to get a break this year. The 3 Thanksgiving Day games this year. Buffalo is at Detroit, 11:30. The Giants are at the Cowboys at 3:30 on Fox. And then that night, the NBC Thanksgiving night game is the New England Patriots at the Minnesota Vikings. So you got a chance that it's not just a super appealing game. But
yeah, they didn't throw you the whoa.
What I'm about to say is not a criticism of Ole Miss or Mississippi State or college football in general, but you're just football fan typically is going to watch the pro game before he watches the college game. You're not going to get the eyeballs that you would have gotten if you were the only show in town.
There's 3 Christmas games today this year, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah. At noon, they are doing Green Bay at Miami. At 3:30, they're doing Denver at L.A., the Rams. And their night game is Tampa Bay at Arizona.
Look at the slate of NFL games on New Year's Day.
On New Year's Day?
Sunday, January the 1st. Listen to this. Arizona at Atlanta, Chicago at Detroit, Denver at Kansas City, Miami at New England, Indianapolis at the Giants, Saints at the Eagles, Carolina at Tampa Bay, Cleveland at Washington, Pittsburgh at Baltimore, Jacksonville at Houston, Niners go to Vegas, Jets go to Seattle, Minnesota at Green Bay.
And then you just got really excited for a night game.
I mean, damn. Rams, Chargers.
Yeah.
And then Monday night, it's Bills at Bengals, which is potentially a battle for the AFC.
So what days are the playoff games? 31st, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And see, that's to your point. The NFL goes, yeah, college football, y'all get New Year's
Day.
Sunday. Screw it. And college football goes, you know what? Even the Sugar Bowl, even the Rose Bowl, the 2 bowls that are like, oh, no.
Well, what's the Sugar Bowl going to do? Go head-to-head with Rams Chargers?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Even the Sugar Bowl goes, all right, we'll move. And you have to understand it. And if you're a casual fan and you don't get this, it's perfectly understandable. It means you have a life. The Sugar Bowl digs in deep on, no. New Year's night belongs to us. And the Rose Bowl believes that the reason that the sun sets right there is because of the Rose Bowl. They believe that God looked ahead.
New Year's Day at 6 or whatever that is, and that's the...
They believe that God looked ahead and said, I'm going to set the sun right here so that in the third quarter of the Rose Bowl.
It is a great scene.
It is awesome.
It is a picturesque scene.
I mean, I watch it every year just to watch it. I always go, I'm not going to fall for it, and then I fall for it.
No, I won't even not be watching the Rose Bowl and go, hold on, what time is it? Yeah, let's see.
You flip the third quarter, and the sun's kind of setting, and gorgeous. I'm with Cole. I think the Egg Bowl belongs on a Friday. Let it be that Friday night game after Missouri, Arkansas. Have a doubleheader.
Yeah, I'm good with that. It's fine.
Does that interfere with high school football? Is that the problem? High school championships?
That would be the semifinals, I think. So you wouldn't be to a state finals yet. No.
Then I'm all in.
Yeah, you should be. Well, I mean, no, the Friday night, there will be Friday night semifinal games.
That Arkansas-Missouri game typically starts at 1:30 on Friday.
Okay.
Play that bad boy at like 5 o'clock.
You are interfering with semifinals.
Okay.
I mean, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, nothing against the high school kids, but come on.
It will affect 6 times 2, 12 teams.
Yeah.
14 starting next year.
Kick that thing off at 5 o'clock on Black Friday.
Yeah.
Go right after Arkansas-Missouri. 5 o'clock. That'd be awesome.
Little soccer thing here. In case you are headed, don't be stupid. Seeing on ESPN here, fans traveling to the 2022 World Cup will not be able to take alcohol for personal consumption into Qatar, with the head of the country's safety and security committee saying that, quote, specific measures are in place to take action against anyone attempting to smuggle liquor in their luggage. Although alcohol is strictly restricted in Qatar, drinking in public can lead to fines of up to 3,000 rial or prison sentences up to 6 months.
Oof.
It can be purchased inside hotels, and the Supreme Committee in charge of the tournaments agreed to make beer, provided by World Cup sponsor Budweiser, available at stadiums and in fan zones during the World Cup, which begins on November 20th. However, yes, if you smuggle it in, you are potentially liable for 6 months in a Dubai prison.
I'm all in. I'm all in on seeing the World Cup, and when it comes to the U.S. in 4 years, I'm going to figure out a way to go to one of those or two of those venues to see games, but I have no interest in going to Qatar.
No.
Nope, none. And I wouldn't be the guy smuggling alcohol in. I'm good.
Yeah, They are trying to make it available in a lot of places, but you have to get it through the vendors. And they are trying to get that ahead right now for people to be aware before it gets here. But
I was just looking at the Christmas. I'm kind of with somebody. Do people go to? I guess most people are through with Christmas by mid-afternoon.
What are we talking about?
Would you go to an NFL game on Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're done, a ton of families would have Christmas night too. But for the people who just have the one night, yeah, I mean, it's why Christmas movies are popular.
Yeah.
There's releases during the holidays on Christmas. Yeah, sure.
I'm all in on Christmas Eve football. That's awesome.
Oh, that's really good. Everybody's around.
Yeah.
Just kind of hanging out.
I mean, I'm like Christmas Eve might be my favorite day of the year. I just like it.
Do you like Christmas Eve?
I've always liked it.
You're Christmas Eve over Christmas Day.
Yeah. The anticipation and stuff when you were a kid. Christmas Eve was just fun. You get to have football games on all day? Absolutely. The NBA is like, I will be so glad when Christmas is back to being on Wednesday.
Oh.
They're thinking, can we just not move Christmas Day to Tuesday through Friday for a while?
The problem you have, and I guess they wouldn't go crazy because it's not fair to teams, but if it gets anywhere near Sunday, the NFL goes, still we like games then.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a couple of years when Christmas is back on Tuesday, the NBA will be like, oh, look at us. We own Christmas again. You rent Christmas.
Yeah, you own it just because the calendar allowed that. Bad boy.
You rent it.
Yeah. Well, it's a different deal. I mean, they put out their slate or whatever this year, and they kind of staggered it, and it wasn't as big a deal. Everybody went, yeah, okay, cool, sweet. Also, you knew what teams were basically going to play before it came out. So, Lord. All right, starts the busiest day of the week here on the network, as Neal said. Streams kind of throughout the day, podcast in the system, to the point that I sat down with Glenn Boyce, the chancellor at Ole Miss, yesterday. I will run that sometime in the next 24 hours, but frankly, the feed is so full, I don't know. At some point, we have it, but I don't know. You'll get it. I mean, frankly, it might hold till Monday. There was nothing time sensitive in it, but I have recorded it. We will have that up. It is audio only because I was on site with him, but we will have that in our.
Why do you take a video crew?
I mean, I could have, I guess. Could have set up my iPhone and then tried to make it work. I had a little paranoia about my mic picking it up because he sat a little farther away than I thought. I was kind of like, okay, and I was checking levels and kind of staring at it, and I could tell the first couple minutes I was a little jittery as we're getting going. But nonetheless, huge day. We're back tonight to cap it off with you with Hand Raised Guys. Again, Ben Mintz in the first hour. We'll take your calls, and we'll watch Rams and Bills, the first game of the NFL regular season coming to you. So enjoy the day. Enjoy RebelGrove.com. Neal's picks are up. A couple days away from Ole Miss and Central Arkansas. Talk to you again tonight.